Welcome to another edition of Action 14. I'm Mike Briggs, bringing you information from the school, from the city, and from the arts. I have with me now Dan Mellis, Superintendent of the Plymouth School District. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me again, Mike.
It's been an interesting first semester. We've gotten halfway through it.
That's right. We're coming up here to, this is the end, Friday's the end of the semester, right?
Yeah.
I know that because I've got two kids in the high school and they're stressed out about their finals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been up and down as far as the health situation goes and staffing situation goes, and but we've been in session, and in cases where we have been short-staffed, we've had people stepping up and lending a hand. And I don't know if people out there know, but when teachers if we don't have enough subs, for example, teachers step in. They volunteer their time. And they step in and help everybody else.
The superintendent steps in once in a while.
And the superintendent steps up once in a while and teaches Phy Ed or math or whatever. And so, yeah, we're all cooks in the cafeteria. So we've I think lots of places are having that. I was talking to the people over at Masters Gallery, and they've got office staff on the lines. So it's kind of like that everywhere, and so it's like that here too.
One thing that is coming up on the school board meeting is the fact that we've had a jump in special ed students, which puts a lot of stress on staff in that field.
Right, that's a smaller group, and so we've got a smaller number of staff that work with the kids. And so when you have a significant percentage jump, 37 new students to our school district since the time that the school year started is a pretty significant number. And of course, when you're doing your staffing plans for the upcoming year and you're setting your budgets for the upcoming year, you don't know that you're going to get almost 40 new kids in a small group, in a small cell group. So yeah, it has put some stress and strain on our staff. And
you use more support staff with those students also.
Correct. All schools have paraprofessionals or aides, what people call them different things, but they're people that work generally part-time, and they come in and they help kids. And so if you've had your kids in 4K out there, there was an aide in the classroom. Other than the aides in the 4K classrooms, almost 100% of the aides that we have in this district they work with special ed kids.
Right.
And so that also has been an area of staffing shortage for us, partly because it's an entry level job, or it's a job that just fits somebody's lifestyle. And there are with the staffing shortages everywhere, there are opportunities for people to maybe jump up to a full-time position and those types of things. So yeah, there are a lot of impacts to what we need to have in order to support those kids effectively.
Right. One thing we should talk about is facilities. I can see in the school board minutes that we have some facility changes or updates.
Right. Every year, Amy Williams and Nikki, they do a really nice job in budgeting, and we try to, we budget for things and we try to buy it cheaper than what we budgeted for. We try to conserve in lots of different places so that by the end of the year, we have more revenue than we have expenditures. What that gives us is a little bit of flexibility so that we can dedicate, usually every summer, some funds towards larger maintenance projects.
Right.
So
in the past, we've had roofs that have been updated, et cetera.
Roofs, the windows at Horizon needed to be replaced. Those have been replaced. Every year we have some bigger ticket items that we try to pick off. On top of that, from the last referendum, there were a couple of items that we had wanted on our wish list that were part of the original plan, but when numbers come in and everything, some of those things get shelved. They get put off to the side. And so two of those things with our good fiscal management, and there was some leftover money from the referendum that has to be spent on the referendum items themselves. We're going to be working on, we're actually working on currently, and we're going to be finishing up in summer. And those are, there is something called a hip boiler. I didn't know that our hips had boilers, but it's kind of a heating, cooling part of the HVAC system that helps you out in those months of spring and fall in the transition times, where you don't need our full system to run, but having a small size system that can get you from the heat to the cold and from the cold to the heat much more efficiently without putting the stress on the big boiler. And it also provides for much further reduced condensation and things like that.
Okay.
And in a computer environment, it is impactful with all the technology that's in all the buildings now. So we're going to be, the HIP boiler is already here. It's already, it's sitting there, it's installed. They're doing the plumbing and the electrical work for it. And it'll be up and functional hopefully by this transition into the warmer months. And then the other one is, this is kind of a fun one for all of those people out there who have ever been to a swim meet, or your kids were in swimming, or they might be in swimming when they come up here. The pool has the same HVAC system that was installed in 1967.
Yep.
So the air handling that goes, get the air out and the air in a pool, it's a caustic environment. And so you have to move a certain amount of air. And so over the years, the maintenance department has done a really good job of trying to find parts and glue things together with bubble gum and duct tape to keep it running. Well, this is one of the things that was on the list for our referendum, but it didn't quite make the grade when all the priorities were coming down to the end. Well, in the end, we saved enough money in that referendum project and did a good enough job that there is enough money. And so that HVAC system is going to be upgraded, and that'll be all done in the summer. And so we'll have much more fresh air in the pool coming up shortly. So hopefully doesn't cool it down. Like, it's nice and warm to go watch a swim meet there, you're up in the balcony. But so that's another one that's coming through. And there are a number of other smaller ones that are sitting out there. But like the track needs to be surfaced and some of those things. And we've got an eye towards the auditorium, sound system and lighting, and we're looking at some of these priority areas, and those definitely are some of the priority areas coming through, if not this year, maybe the following year. Yeah,
there's always something that needs to be updated when you have 5 facilities and action going on all the time.
Yeah, our buildings get used constantly, and well, it's like like your house. There's always something that needs repaired, and you got to save up and repair them.
One of the items that you've been talking about the last couple of school board meetings is the testing and how our students are doing. And that's going to be a continued item on your list, I'm sure.
Right. Academic performance and achievement learning is, that's the heart of our mission, is everybody finding their personal success to be their best. And so we have added a few things over the last 6 and 7 years that we are able to understand. We do some intermittent, kind of standardized in-house assessments with kids to find out how they're doing in particularly reading and math, and to then track that and to break it down into, are there specific areas in reading and math that a kid is excelling or maybe falling behind in, and then we use that information to then change the program for an individual kid. Or in some cases, we use that information, we find that an entire grade, for example, is missing or is lower than they ought to be in one area, or it's really excelling in some area. And we really dig into that data. So every year during the summer, but also during our PD days, if anybody's wondering what we're doing on PD days, this upcoming Friday is a really good example of that, because we've got our second assessment has been done in all the schools. Right. So the teachers have all that information, and so they sit down in groups, they break it all down. It's computerized, so they can run reports that are specific to even parts of math. So something like number sense is something that we track for kids. And so we can see that in our district, we've got steady growth in an area, and then all of a sudden there might be a little bit of a dip, and then there's steady growth again. So we address that. We look for those, district-wide or grade band-wide things that then we look for. Do we have the resources that we need? Do we have the right people? So as an example, a few years back, we were noticing that there were some pretty big gaps in our kids' understanding of math in some specific areas, like algebraic thinking was one of them. And we took a look at our entire curriculum, and we realized that we were redundant in some areas. We had too much of one thing repeated in a couple years back to back, and then we had not enough of other things like algebraic thinking, and we weren't starting early enough with how to do that. So we powwowed about that. We brought in resources, we brought in experts, and what we ultimately, and our own internal experts, and so we ultimately just worked to get for the teachers was a resource that aligned that algebraic thinking, and it was sequential. So it's from about third grade is where they really start working on it a little bit, and so from third to fourth to fifth to sixth, it was aligned and scaffolded so that it wasn't that they got it one year and didn't get it the next. They got it over and over and repeated, so that the kids had they built their knowledge.
Right.
And so that is that's how we attack the problem once we've identified the problem. And so we've got an issue currently where we notice there's a bit of a drop in reading as the kids get older. And part of it is the wonderful, glorious cell phones of now. They're much more attractive than a book in some cases. And it's just, there are many different reasons for it, but we notice in our data that our reading achievement has a pretty nice steady growth, and then you get into fifth and middle school, and all of a sudden there's a bit of a stalemate. It doesn't keep rolling.
Okay.
And so what we've done is the same kind of process, and we've added some coaches there. So those are people that help out and help teachers understand the data better and how to instruct to reading better. We've added some physical resources, more books, more choice books, and it's even matriculated up into the high school. They're adding more choice books, just focusing on students' interest in reading. Try to attack that part of it before we get at increasing the level and capability. And so there's just a multifaceted approach to what we do when we realize that there are some gaps that need addressing for kids learning in the district.
But I think the good news is that our students are doing very well.
Right.
We've had through all of the craziness that's been the last year and a half, 2 years, our students are doing very well.
Right. If you look at the county data, for example, we were one of just a couple schools who didn't really see a major decline in our kids' academic performance, at least on the state report card.
Right.
And in our own internal data, we compare against the state and national numbers from the assessment package that we use, we continued to grow. Even last year when there were districts right in our little county that took a pretty steep hit. So that speaks to the parents and the kids and working together with the school and sticking together and trying to make something of make some lemonade out of lemons. But I think because we've got a better process now for identifying issues and adding resources to those issues, and we've got high expectations, we don't see why we just can't keep growing and growing and growing till our school district is in achievement wise is well into that top percentile. So that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, and as we continue to go forward, we keep trying to build on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're never. It's always that whole continual improvement kind of idea. It's always a journey. There's never an end, but you always want to be improving.
Yep. Legislative update. We've had some information for our people about that?
Yeah, the superintendents meet with our local legislators every month, and we meet in person and virtually. This time we did a combination of both. But we discuss any bills, any proposed legislation that's out there that addresses K-12 education. And this time there really wasn't any coming from the legislative part of things. But we still advocate. So, for example, we were, as a group of superintendents, we're advocating for an increase in the per pupil expenditure limit that is out there, because this last year was held at 0. And there's information out there that some of our legislators used. I think it's their canned information that comes from their party that says, well, schools have never had so much money. But the problem is that money is one-time money, and it's not meant to be ongoing money, which, everything increases in cost. Personnel, insurance, heating, all of that. So, the one-time money covers us for a year, but it doesn't cover us when, in a year, those same expenditures exist, and we're leveled at the 2020 number. So, again, we advocated for an increase to the per pupil revenue limit. But we also advocated for, like what we were talking about before, was maybe some targeted aid, if that's not palatable to the legislature, maybe targeted aid towards special education, increasing that fund, or targeted aid toward reimbursement for health insurance increases that we think are inevitably coming. So, maybe some of that would be helpful as an offset, even if they're not willing to, increase funding to schools.
There's always back and forth trying to guess and or get support that will assist us where we feel we have needs,
Right, and we're trying to always navigate that political, we know what we need to operate. We're just trying to find ways that we can get to a yes with our local legislators.
Let's talk a bit about sports, because we have had, through this whole COVID thing this year, all of our sports have been very, very good at keeping our numbers out, keeping our illness low.
Right. I don't know if we should even talk about this, but knock on wood, we have had a few kids here and there that have had it and weren't able to play, just like same with everywhere else. There's some people have it and they're quarantined, but in general, I don't think we've missed a game or missed a competition.
We have not.
In total throughout this entire time, and so for that, I'm really happy. It's a big part of a kid's life. If they're involved in, some of these kids have been involved in these sports since they were, old enough to walk.
Yep.
And so it's nice that year where everything was shut down, I think there were some kids that really missed out. And I think kids currently are getting a pretty normal experience compared to what their peers would have gotten over the past, and we've been successful.
I should talk about one person, Silas Daly, a wrestler for Plymouth. He won the Oshkosh on the Water tournament over the holiday, and there's 65 teams in it, and he was the winner. And it's 65 teams of all sizes of schools. And we have never had, to my knowledge, a winner of Oshkosh on the Water. So that was a big thing, and he's remaining healthy as well as the rest of the wrestling team.
Right. Yeah. All of those teams are. It's kind of remarkable to see that even amongst all of the stuff that's going on, they're in close contact, and they're making it through and relatively healthy, and we've got kids like Silas. They're super successful.
Yep. Let's talk about the other part of that, because we have a number of our students are in athletics, but we also have a number of our students that are on the stage.
Right, and so just a couple seconds ago, I was walking past the band room, and the kids are there with the scripts, and they're belting out their lines for Bye Bye Birdie.
Yeah.
This year's musical coming up, and so It's going to be an exciting musical, and I just happened to look in there, and I didn't know who the leads were, but once I saw it, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
And yeah. So they're getting ready. It's a long process, and I hope when it comes time, everybody gets a chance to come out and see it. And it's a big thing in town.
It is, and we've struggled there too on how to convey that during these troubled times. But at this point, we're going to allow people to come in and watch the whole thing.
Right.
And it should be great.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I certainly want to thank you for coming on. I should remind everyone that the school board meetings are the third Tuesday of every month here in the amphitheater at the high school, starting at 5:30. And then the Monday before school board is always a meeting of the whole.
Correct.
And be part of what's happening in the Plymouth School District. Understand that we're here for you.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
I have the mayor sitting out there. I'm going to bring him in on the hot seat in just a few minutes, and we'll be talking about what's happening in the city over all of this. So stay right with us. You're watching Action 14. Welcome back to Action 14. As promised, I've got the mayor sitting here. Mayor Pullman, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. It's always a pleasure to be here at TV 14 and go through current topics with you and your TV 14 viewers.
Well, I think we have some good news to start with because we're halfway or more through January, and you've got to feel pretty good about how the city is sitting right now.
This smile isn't natural. This comes from good news from our department.
Absolutely,
Trust me.
because I know you're short on equipment.
Oh, yes.
And there are people next door to me that have not even had to use their snow blower. And your people are keeping up just fine, but
Yeah.
also we've been very lucky, haven't we?
We've been very fortunate. We've only had to load the trucks once with salt and brine, so that's a good thing. Not that we don't have a lot of winter left to deal with, but we really have kind of COVID has done a lot of weird things, but COVID has also had us, through our superintendent, Matt, do some very innovative procedures last year because we were having people come in half days, evenings, weekends, and different things, and they were very cooperative, and we really appreciate that from the staff. But what that has also done for us is given us some flexibility in our equipment. All of our employees have CDLs, so they have to be able to hop in different pieces of equipment and get the job done. Fortunately, the one piece that we ordered, it's only $265,000. Nothing,
Yeah.
exorbitant or
It's a
nothing.
huge piece of equipment.
Huge pieces. And we were supposed to get that in October. Unfortunately, it didn't come in October. It's now supposed to come in May. But oh, by the way, there's a surcharge on it for $10,000. It's like, what? Well, if you don't want to pay the surcharge, we'll just cancel the order. You're in a catch-22. You can't cancel the order because then you're out 24 months to order another one. And it's the shortages out there in every aspect of our lives, not just the grocery store shelf, but also in equipment that you've ordered 15 months ago that was supposed to come in October and isn't here yet.
Right.
So it's a real problem. Dealing with it, flexible hours has really helped us tremendously. So there's good news with all of the problems that we've encountered, but at the same time, how often can you juggle? Eventually the juggling stops and you run into conflicts, and we've had a few of those minor, and you just get into it. But it is a constant adjustment that we're doing, and we're trying to take care of the roads. We had out twice this year.
Yep.
Trying to take good care of them early so that we don't have problems, especially around the schools and things like that. So fortunately, all the weather's gone south of us and is down in the south and over in the east. And
Yep.
we just watch it on TV and smile, but we're hoping to get that new piece of equipment sooner than later. And then we know we'll be in good shape because the juggling is starting to, you can only beat a piece of equipment so much before you got to bring it in for maintenance.
At the same time, we still should thank, pleased that we have places to park all of our equipment indoors, because it lasts so much longer since you have built those facilities.
We have gone through our expense reports a couple times, looking backwards like we always do and compare, and we can't believe the differences. We're not blowing hoses, we're not blowing antifreeze, we're not having to warm up equipment for an hour before you can run it. It is so much easier to have this equipment, not in a heated room per se, you wear your jacket out there, but it's inside.
Yep.
And that in itself raises the temperature from 0 to probably 40, 50 degrees. And our big shop area is where we put our ground water heat system. So the floor isn't cold.
Okay.
And that radiates up and keeps the equipment at a constant temperature. It comes in colder than it goes out.
Yeah. And at the same time, generally, if you get through January, you can almost see the end of winter. Now, it's changed over the years. Winter seems to start later and last a little longer.
It does, but the cold
Yeah.
isn't there. When you get to the end of January, that below freezing, sub-zero freezing is not there anymore. And when you stay, in the 15-degree range, that makes it a lot easier on everybody.
It does.
And you don't have the ice buildup that we always had in the past.
Yeah. One of the items that I've been asked about is the fact that, are you ready to start looking at a new city administrator, utility manager position? Is that something that you're working for now?
We are, at the last council meeting, the council did agree to tweak the existing job description just a little bit, putting more emphasis on the financial part of the job and also some requirements to have that utility knowledge that we might find difficulty in finding that person that is a unique person, but we put it in there if we can. We can always waive that. But I think that it's something that we need to multitask in order to bring that in. And so we've already started the advertising on it. We've got all of our preliminary documents updated, and the council will look at the two processes that we used, one for Brian 11 years ago and one for Jordan a year ago, and see if we're going to tweak those at all, what kind of interview process we're going to do, and then go forward with that. Ideally, we'd like somebody on board, say July or August. That's the budget time.
Yeah, and at the same time, we should start seeing, as 23 gets closer to completion in July and August, we're going to see more traffic and more people coming to and through Plymouth.
Well, and that's interesting because we've already seen that. Even without the completion, the better travel the faster travel, has already helped the phone ring as to what availabilities are there.
Okay,
And timing is everything. You never know how well it works. But our TID 4, which is out on the east side of town, and it's the Sartorian on one side, and then it runs through the city, and actually Aurora out by 23 is also in TID 4. That will be closing, the drop dead date on that is September of 23.
okay.
We might move that up. We haven't totally made that decision yet. And when that closes, the unique part and timing on that is we can then turn around and open a TID 7. That TID 7 gives us the opportunity, just like 4 did with Sartori and Aurora, we can now incentivize new business and opportunity in the city. So it's timing is starting to look better all along. That would give us a huge opportunity to grow, because businesses that come in, they look for good schools. Plymouth has good schools. And we're looking at expanding our residential areas of the city and affordable residential at all levels, single family, 2-family, 4-family. So we're looking at that, and we're more than happy to try and exchange some land that we have.
Yeah, now that brings up the next question. That fits right in with my next question, because at one point, the city bought 60-some acres on south
67.
and west of 67.
It's the south west side of the city, north of 67 on that curve, right?
Yep, and then you have some kind of opportunity for another 100 acres south of 67.
Correct.
Now, you add up all of those acres, are you thinking residential? What is the plan of the city there?
Our master plan, you have good sources, by the way, very good sources. That option actually expires January 31st of 22. So it's not too far away. The thinking back then was to have a multifaceted residential area, that's where residents in the city is going, to be able to bring in affordable housing in that development. And we have, it's not that we don't have affordable housing. We have a lot of land available, lots available. Generally speaking, they're in the over 300 category.
Yeah,
We're trying to bring it down to the 200 category, and exercising those options that we struck a deal on years ago. The price per lot is substantially less. That allows the developer to come in and build more moderate housing. That will help us supply the needs of industry that moves in. With the new TIF 7 that we're looking at, we can create the incentives. Now the only thing that we need is traffic, and guess what? 23 is supplying the other part of that equation. So there's a very coincidental timing of a lot of things here that is starting to come into play, and we're trying to be very proactive in setting out our parameters on not only that 67 acres, but the 100 acres. We're not looking for one developer to be the sole developer of everything. Sometimes you then get, shall we say, production homes.
Yep.
We're looking at a half dozen developers
Okay.
that would put in different designs and different opportunities, still having the mix that's required in those areas because that's where residents are going to go. We're not going to build north of 23, that's not city property. We won't be going east of 57 because that's industrial area.
Right.
So our only real out is to the south and to the west. And that's a very good area for us because it's gravity fed for our utilities. So that gives us a little bit more flexibility in how we plan that from utility process. So there's a lot that goes into that, and we're going to come to that conclusion. We do have a window of September of 22 that we could exercise in closing the TIF. We have to look at what proceeds come from that TIF, what we can use them for, and then turn around and make those funds available for housing.
Okay. I just know that, and our viewers should know that there is a possibility of 167 acres available to the city of Plymouth
Correct.
on the southwest side of Plymouth.
Southwest side, yep.
Towards Cascade.
Yep.
Yep.
I tell some people Milwaukee's a suburb of Plymouth.
Okay,
but, yeah.
okay. All right.
But yeah, it's in that direction.
Yeah.
And we, I think that we have some very good opportunities waiting for us.
Okay, good, good. One last item before we close is that there's still an opening for common council that when Jerry passed away, that has not been filled at this time.
Correct.
What is the plan for that? I know we have voting coming up in April.
Correct. And Jerry's seat was a aldermanic district that was coming up in April. And I had talked to him and other alders about what they were going to do, and he was going to rerun. His untimely demise unfortunately stopped that. The seat is still open, and we did have one candidate that did file for that seat. The clerk currently, actually I talked with her today, is going through and checking all the names off because all the signatures have to be verified in order to be certified for the electorate to go on the ballot. In the past, we have had, in my tenure, we've had two appointments upon the demise of a alder, and we've had two appointments from the demise of an alder with an election in April. And in the two that were up for election in April, what we did was wait until we had filings certified, and then if there was only one applicant,
Yeah.
then the council appointed that applicant in
Okay.
February, so we would get back to a full council once again. With the election in April, that person would have a couple months to kind of wet the whistle and would be elected in April nonetheless. So it simply gave us a full council a little sooner.
Okay.
If it had been a year from April, then our policy in the past has been to interview candidates and appoint that vacant position a year and 3 months ahead of time. So
Okay.
it's been done in February regardless, but we'd like to get back to a full council. It's the way you should operate, and I think we'll have that information out probably by the end of the week.
Okay.
And then, of course, we don't have a primary this year in February in the county at all.
Right.
Which our clerk is happy we don't have to do any election polling and things like that, because those cost money for the
Yes.
city to put on. The deadline to certify those signatures is still timely and required, so she's doing that process, and I think we'll have that done by the end of the week.
Okay.
But the way it looks right now, we'll have that person in so they can be part of not only the administrator interview decision process, but also start to get into the flow of things before April comes. April is always the multiple 4 or 5 dozen appointments that the mayor makes, and trying to get those in timely sometimes is a real rush. That would help myself in making those appointments and getting them to the council on time. So there's a lot of things that go into it. I think that we'll move ahead quickly on the alder position, and I really think that moving ahead on the new city administrator, utility manager will also facilitate things to get back on track.
Okay.
Especially with the TID 4 closing and trying to set up a TID 7, that's a very complicated process. Even though I've now gone through it 4 times, it's a lot of work. I want someone else to handle that work,
okay.
to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I just, we will look at the time that very shortly we should have a full council.
We will,
and
yeah.
moving
I
forward.
would certainly think in February, and then by the end of summer, we should have our administrator on board.
Okay.
And then, of course, that's budget time, and we don't take a breath at all. So
Yeah.
winter's moving fast, and as I tell people, we're one day closer to spring.
There you go, yes. Well, I want to thank you for being on.
You're welcome.
I should remind everybody that the council meetings are the second and last Tuesday of every month down at City Hall, starting at
7 o'clock.
7 p.m. Be part of what's happening in the city. We will take a short break. When we come back, I'm hoping to have Donna Hahn here to talk about things happening down at the Arts Center. So stay right with us. You're watching Action 14. Welcome back to Action 14. I have with me now Donna Hahn. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike.
What I can't believe is that we've got a juried art exhibit, an annual one coming up, and it's the 27th annual.
Yes.
We've been doing it for 27 years?
We have, and, it's just a wonderful show, and
Yeah.
we're going to keep doing that.
Well, explain how it all works, because you have artists that are members of the Plymouth Art Center, and they will get an opportunity.
Right. You don't actually have to be a member for this one. We do have a mailing list of probably 1,200 people that are either, member artists or non-member artists, and all of them will get it in the mail. And we'll also have it available on our website. It's a prospectus. And what that is it just, the artist will fill that out, and they'll tell us what they would like to show the juror, 2 of their very best pieces, and they'll describe those 2 pieces in the prospectus, and they'll pay us $25, which is called a jury fee. So then we hire a judge, and the judge will look at all of those images when they come in. So we set a deadline, so you can, if you want to go to our website right now, you'll see the prospectus there, or you can wait to get it in the mail. And then you'll fill that out, and then the judge will, actually, we put all of the slides in order for her, and we cover all the names, so she doesn't know who's applying. So, it's a great process, and she'll eliminate some, and some people will get 1 in, some will get 2 in, and some won't get in at all, but that is why it's called a juried show.
That's right.
And it's a chance, so.
And the deadline to get it back in is March 11th.
It is, yes.
And that'll be here before you know it.
It happens really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's talk a bit about, you have Denise Presnell.
Yes, and she's a very well-known
Yeah.
artist in the area. She was a professor at Lakeland University for many years, I think 27. And also is an exhibiting artist herself and an award-winning artist. And she is our judge, and we're really happy to have her.
Right, and if you are picked, you will be you'll be on display for how long? It's
a longer show. I
Yeah.
think it's at least 12 weeks long.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of our longer shows.
it goes until, I believe, August.
Yes, it's pretty much all summer.
Yeah, so it is perfect for those struggling artists that want to be
Yes.
seen.
Yeah, and it's great for their resume if they, get juried in. It looks really great on their resume, and if they're picked for an award, that's even better.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a cash award,
There's $1,000 being given out.
right? So
total.
the top prize will be 500, and then
Yeah.
we pay down from there.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting,
Yes.
I think.
It's always exciting.
Yeah.
The artists don't know who, will win the awards because that's a separate visit by the judge. And then we announce the awards the night of our big
And I think,
festive opening.
and that's May 6th, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you actually are preparing now,
Right,
get something in by March 11th, and in May, you will find out if you're one of
Right.
the big winners, and you'll be on display until August.
right. Yes, that's
That's gonna
exactly
be very
right.
exciting. All part, in 27 years of it.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes, and every year we always have a great number of artists that apply. And usually we end up with about between 75 and 90 pieces in the show.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to choose sometimes because there's so many good ones.
Yeah, and we should mention to our audience that it's not just sculpture, it's not just oils, it's photography,
Yes.
it
And the neat thing about it is it's just Wisconsin artists that can apply. And you have to be 18 and over. But yeah, if you're working in woodworking or glass, pottery, yeah, it's not just paintings.
yeah, it is going to be a great show. It always is.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then many of the pieces will be for sale in that show as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah. Well, let's back up a bit, though. We have a show going on right now, and the show is The Art of Printmaking and History of Monoprints.
Yes, this is a fantastic show. I hope everyone gets a chance to come in and see it. It's just so fascinating, the process that the artists use for monoprinting. And we're going to, give you a little history on monoprinting when you come in. There's going to be brochures that you can look at and maybe a little video.
Okay.
So there are 5 exhibiting artists in this particular show, and they all studied under the master printmaker Paul Yank, who was from the Cedarburg area, and he has since passed away, but many of them have the style of Paul Yank. And it's so fascinating to see how they apply the different layers of paint to end up with such a beautiful painting.
And that's going on right now down at the Arts Center, and it's the first time you've had anything like that.
We did have a print show many years ago,
Okay.
and it was, fantastic as well. But this one is a little different. Every print show is always a little bit different depending on the artist's style.
And let's talk about, because we want people to come down to the Arts Center and see this.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the times. I mean, Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then Saturday and Sunday, noon to 3.
Right.
And I also know that if I had a group of people, I could probably get a special appointment.
You could, if you can only come in the evening. There are many times where we are there, when we are there in the evening. So we'll be glad to open the gallery for you, and just
Yeah.
call us ahead of time, and we'll do that for you.
You can find out what's happening at PlymouthArts.org. That's the key, is go to PlymouthArts.org, and you will find out everything from being able to fill out the paperwork to bring your own art in,
Right.
to the times and what's specifically happening, and the new shows coming on.
Right.
Yeah, the new show, the Wee Bit Irish concert, is going to be special this
Yes.
year. It is, you have an Irish show every year.
Well,
You
Mary
have.
Mary Kelvey was our Irish lass, we
Yeah,
called her.
yeah.
Plymouth's own Irish lass, and we do miss Mary, but we do have another Celtic group that has been performing at the Arts Center since about 2013. It's our very own Carrie Kramer, and she has put together, with Tom Clegg, they put together a nice combo. And it's a variety show, basically. It's not just Celtic music. It's a blend of, Americana and Irish and English music. And it's always wonderful. They do a fantastic job. They have musicians that are accompanying them. And it's always a delightful show. And this year it's going to be special.
Oh, yeah, it's March 12th and 13th, and also it is March 17th through the 20th.
Yes.
And you might want to go to 2 shows.
I
You
think
have
so.
6 total shows. The first 2, am I correct,
Yes.
are the Wee Bit Irish. Now, you've added something for the first time I can recall to
In many years.
the latter days. And so the 17th through the 20th?
The 17th through the 19th for 3 shows, we are bringing back the Harp Twins.
Yes.
And they are from Chicago.
Isn't that something?
Delightful ladies, and we're just so happy to have them back for the 3 shows that fit their schedule nicely. We would want them for all 6, but we'll take 3.
17th, 18th, and 19th, you will have the Harp Twins.
Right,
And that's Camille and Kennerly Kit.
yes.
And 2 identical twins that play music at its fullest.
Yes, and they do a little singing as well.
Yes, you can actually go to harptwins.com. And I had to go there because I had to see,
Yes.
and it is real.
It's amazing.
Yes.
They are totally identical.
And so you see the early ones, now we're talking the March 12th and 13th and the 20th, am I correct, are going to be $15
Right,
and no twins.
no twins,
But 17th, 18th, and 19th
correct.
is $20, but it's well worth the extra
Yes,
$5.
you're going to get about another half an hour of music
Yes.
with their show. So it's going to be a blended evening. They aren't going to perform with the Celtic folk group, but, it's going to be a substantial amount of music.
And to have the twins that have played all over the world.
They have,
I was listed, you can go, like I said, go to harptwins.com, and you will see where they have been, PBS has had them, a special show just for them.
yes. They've been in movies, yeah, and they do travel all over the world, and they have a wonderful following. Millions of people follow them.
And here they're coming to Plymouth,
And they're coming
Wisconsin.
to Plymouth, yeah.
That should be a great show. So,
And they're I have to say this, they are such nice ladies. They're just, and they usually bring their mother with them, and the 3 of them are just delightful.
and so that's March, the entire Wee Bit Irish is March 12th and 13th, and also 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. There are 6 total shows.
Right.
3 of them including the twins.
Right,
And so you have actually a lot of choices to possibly go to 2 shows.
well, we are going to have limited seating,
Yeah.
so get your tickets early.
That's
We're
right.
selling them right now.
Yep, you can purchase your tickets online. You've added that, so you can go to online to purchase them, or stop down.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, stop down, see what's happening down there with the art of printmaking.
Yes,
And then you can be
absolutely.
part of everything else.
Visit the gift shop.
That's right. There's some fantastic, gift shop changes items all the time. There's always
Yes.
something new in there.
And we're always looking for volunteers, I have to mention that. So
Mm-hmm.
if people are interested in finding out more about how they can volunteer, we'd love to sit down with
Sure.
them and tell them the variety of things that we do.
We have so many things happening in the world of art. So you have the art of printmaking is going on right now. Get your tickets for the Bit of Irish, and also start filling the paperwork out to have your own art down at the Arts Center.
Yes,
It's going to be a
absolutely.
nice spring coming.
We do have a couple other shows that are going to be happening, and I'd just like to briefly mention that Lori Behringer's students will have their art on display in March.
Okay.
And then right after that, the winners from Paint the Town are going to
that's
have
right.
their own show. So those are some other exciting shows that are coming up as well.
Something is always happening at the Arts Center.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. I want to thank you so much for being on. Donna Hahn from the Arts Center. They're getting ready for their 27th year of the juried exhibit. It's
The Alive in the
unbelievable.
Arts, and it's our 29th
Yes,
membership year.
That's right.
So,
Good luck.
thank you.
And I want to thank you for being with us. Until next time, I'll be seeing you on the radio. Bye-bye. Fantastic. Did we give them?